Welcome to the Wellness on Tap podcast with your host, Dr. Debs Eastwood.
But yeah, I would love to hear your story.
Okay.
My dear Kelly.
Okay, thank you.
I know that I heard it when you were a speaker at an event that I was at. And I was pretty blown away. And I just think all my listeners should hear how your story has led you to being the person you are today, doing what you do.
Thank you. And thanks for inviting us here. It's been an amazing afternoon. Beautiful, beautiful place. So I always generally begin in 2013, but I'm just going to go to the present moment for now. And for the person I've become, to really standing in my own truth, awaken my own gifts. Because there was a point where I'll start at 2013, where I was just kind of in the middle of an ordinary life, and my two kids were 6 and 4, who were just like happy, and family life with my husband, and everything was going great. And I was very fit. I've been a swimming coach for many years, and I was running around a Zumba class one day, my normal Zumba class, and I just couldn't run. I was running, and then I slowed down, and my legs just completely went. So I went to hospital. I couldn't work out what it was, and they ordered a lumbar punch, and they said, "We think you've got Guillain-Barré syndrome. Your markers show that you've got the start of it." So I researched this Guillain-Barré syndrome and realised it was absolutely horrendous. Your immune system shuts down the whole body. So it's pretty frightening. So
Scary.
You're very scary. When they told me you've got to go in the lung ward, your lungs are going to shut down, you'll just be able to blink. I was like, oh, okay, we've just gone from Zumba class to just being able to blink, great. So
it's a lot to process in a day.
A lot to process in it, exactly. So I went through that whole treatment process that didn't really make any difference. I didn't just end up blinking, thankfully. And my legs slowly began to not function normally, but they were still very weak. But I mean, I could walk at least, and I could shuffle to the toilet.
How far up did it come? It tends to rise, the Guillain-Barré, doesn't it?
So it was just always to here.
Oh.
But it didn't feel right. You know, when you go to the dentist and you the feeling's just coming back from your teeth, but, you could bite your lip at any time and it wouldn't matter. It was like that. I went through that treatment process, and I could stand up. But I think that was my grit determination that I am not staying in this hospital any longer. And they said, okay, by September, because I had a new job in the September, I remember, and they said, you will be going home by, you'll be on your new job September. This was like May. It's like, great, this is just a bit of a drop stitch in life's tapestry, as my nan used to say.
I like that.
It's great, isn't it? It's a great saying. And I thought, great, it's fine. And September come, I was still the same. And I kept relapsing. So I went on a different treatment process, which is called plasma exchange, where they you probably know what it is, filter the blood and plasma. Didn't make any difference again. And I said to the doctors, you're missing something. There's something else. The intuition kicked in, which I didn't know what was intuition at that point, because, I'll get to that bit at the end where I'd never meditated before. And I just said to my mum, they are missing something. They don't know what's wrong with me. And I do think I've got something no one's had before. They're missing it. And my mum reminded me of that the other day. She went, you called it from the beginning. So this was then a journey. I was disabled on crutches and wheelchairs for 4 years. And my kids essentially become carers overnight, really. My husband was working away. It was extremely difficult. We were really struggling financially because I did work, believe it or not. I still went to work over the process, because it was going on for so long. And they kept treating me with the same treatment and said, oh, you've got a more chronic version of Guillain-Barré syndrome, and you've got to learn to accept your disability. You've got to go for mental health help because, you're not accepting it. I said, you're missing something. I just know. And I was actually going blind. All my organs were failing. Getting enlarged, actually. My liver and spleen, I'd seen on a scan that were very big. And there was a point when I was in Asda and I was on my crutches. I mean, life had to go on. This was just something I was living with now. And there was accumulation of so many things, and it just become, okay, this is my life now, so just kind of get on with it. And I dropped something in Asda, so I went to pick it up and I completely went blind, which, this is going to sound crazy, but that wasn't normal, because that's what used to happen to me all the time. But when I stood up, my vision didn't come back for much longer, because usually I'd be drop, stand up, oh yeah, I'm blind now for a minute, and then it's back. So I got used to that, but it didn't come back. And I started screaming, and because I was so panicked, my legs went weak, I ended up falling on the floor and went to hospital. And I just said, I'm not leaving here until you find what's wrong with me. There's something else, you're missing it. So it was basically a bit of a sitting protest, to be quite honest. And it was the QE, and they have the military doctors, don't they? And he come to see me. And so they put me in hospital for all testing. And I was there for 8 weeks. And
that's a haul.
It was probably, that was worse than the actual treatment, actually. It was scans and bone marrow biopsies and lumbar punches and just everything. Anyway, because they were throwing all these things at me, which they never did before, it was either nerve conduction study because of my legs and the treatment that I'd usually had. They were throwing all these other things at me, and I thought, you are finding out what's wrong with me now, but they didn't say anything. So I said to the doctor, I said, do you know what's wrong with me? And she went, we've got an idea. I was like, you need to tell me. She went, just please don't Google it. I went, right. So what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to Google it, right? So I did, and I just come out of the hospital. I was like, I'm going to die. She just said, no, we know what's wrong with you now. I mean, I was months from death, definitely. I was so weak, and just everything was failing. I was going to the toilet 40 to 50 times a night. That feeling of needed to go, but nothing was happening. I was painfully thin. Just the list goes on, right? So she just said, you've got something called, we think, POEMS syndrome, which is an acronym for lots of things. POEMS as in a poem. It's an acronym for lots of things, which I had every single thing, and then others. So I also had Addison's disease that had started, hypothyroidism that had started, and my endocrine system was... I'd not had a period for like 3 years at this point. There was lots of things. So they picked up that it was POEMS, but they said, but you've got a version of it we've never seen, but this only affects about 500 people in the world as it is. But I called it from the beginning because my mum says, I've got something no one's had. And I don't know where that had come from. And that was 4 years previous.
Yeah.
So I had to go on a treatment process and basically had to have a bone marrow transplant, stem cell transplant, but became my own donor, which was quite scientifically amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was my own donor. And my consultant was absolutely amazing. He was very real with me because he knew I'd been through the mill. And I was like, look, I'm a big girl. I can take it. Just tell me. I just need to know, am I going to be here for my kids? What do I need to do, etc. And he just said, well, you're not going to like it, Kel, because I was very much, even then, very much into kind of natural eating, and I had all these supplements. I was having bee pollen every day. So I didn't want any more poison. I'd been fed it for ages. And he just said, we are going to have to give you the strongest chemotherapy. You want me to be real with you without killing you? He said, so it's got to be that intense. Then we'll give you your cells back the following day, and then hopefully it'll work. So I went through that process. Was just, as you can imagine, the most horrendous thing. And
awful. I can't imagine what experiencing that must have been like. Just
awful. And I started to, for a few days after that, it wasn't too bad. And they said, you will hit a wall in about 6 days' time. But because I was always very optimistic and always have been, always an optimistic person, I didn't think that was going to happen to me. I was like, it's not going to happen to me, I'll be fine. It's not going to happen to me. And day 8 came, and it was actually my birthday.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I was lying in bed, and they said, what are you having for your birthday, Kelly? I was like, just give me some blood, because all my blood work was completely destroyed. Everything was going. And I kept having blood transfusions and things. And I ended up not physically being able to move. I was that poorly. And this is the kind of the switch time. So that sounds all very, very dramatic and very horrible, which it was.
Yeah.
But then this day happened where me and Joe talk about it all the time, who you interviewed last week. It was like the void of time, because it's very hard to put into language. I was lying in bed. I heard all the dinners going on and the breakfast and the doctors talking and things. But I knew that I looked like I probably wasn't here. And I kept saying in my head, Cal, wake up. They're going to take you to the morgue. They're going to take you to the morgue. Just wake up. But I felt that poorly. I physically couldn't do it. But another part of me, which I now know is like kind of like the spirit or the actual soul self of me, was kind of hopping in and out. And I was very aware of my physical body, but also more aware of this expansive version of me, which I couldn't make sense of. So I was switching in between the two, because when I went to that place, and this is when people say about near-death experiences, I didn't experience anything like what people talk about. Mine was, I was in a void of time, which is how I try and explain it, where it was an absolute stillness of nothing really, but it was everything. It was where I feel that our soul resides. So if anyone said to me, like, where's your favourite place to be? I would be like there, because that was absolute peace. But the human side of me kept getting a bit scared, thinking, please don't take me to the morgue. So my mum was sitting at the side of me, and I was very aware of her. I could hear her. And I managed to turn my head and I went, Mum, if I go to sleep, I'm going to die. She said, you've been asleep for hours? I said, I haven't. I was trying to tell her what had been going on and whatever. And she was asking me all these questions. And I was like, okay, so if I'm going to sleep and that's where I'm going to be, that's great, fine. That's where I'm going then. And I didn't even have any attachment at that point. My kids were obviously really little, got my husband, my parents, but in that space, there was no attachment. It was like an absolute peace, right? It's very hard to explain.
Sounds like there's a purity
to it. That's it. And so I went through this process and realised I wasn't dead. And there's a bit of a spoiler alert, I'm clearly not.
I'm very glad to hear it.
And I woke up, and even though I still felt like hell on earth, I thought, you know what, I'm going to be all right now. There was this wave of that peace that come over me, just saying, that's it. And the doctors were talking to me about all these different things that you can have done. You've got to take this tablet, that tablet, because you've got Addison's disease, which is, you know, if he's not controlled properly, it's a terminal illness anyway. Yeah. But in my head, I was thinking, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that. I'm not doing that. But you carry on talking to me. But in my head, I was just, you know. So I was meant to be in hospital for 8 weeks, and I got out of there in 2.5 weeks. This all happened in 2.5 weeks. They couldn't believe how well I was all of a sudden. And I walked out of there, not wheeled out of there. So I walked out of there on my crutches. And by actually week 8, I was driving to the beach with my kids. Wow. Parents ringing me, husband ringing me, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to the beach. And it was horrendous because I was being sick every stop, because that chemotherapy was working on me for 3 months at least. Oh. 3 months. And I only had one shot. That's how strong it was, just one, for 20 minutes.
That must be seriously debilitating. I know it's like having morning sickness.
It is.
I'm sure that's nothing in comparison.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. But that started to fade away, and I started to experience something else then. So this feeling of, so in between anxiety, excitement and nervousness, all at the same time, I felt like I was being pulled out of my body. But bearing in mind, I didn't have any language for this, because I thought anyone that meditated was an absolute nutter. Anyone that did all these twingly Reiki things was like, you need counselling. You know, that's how I was. So I didn't have the language to explain this feeling. No. So I was talking to my friend about it, who was one of those Reiki crazy people. And she said, come for a session, you need to calm down. I went for all the tests again because I could start to see things that I couldn't explain, a bit like, when you see waves on tarmac when the heat's coming up, but everywhere, on everybody, on every organ, everything. I thought, that's it, I'm going blind again. Went for the tests, everything was fine. They said, your blood work is amazing, we can't believe how well you're doing. So I went for this Reiki session, and those feelings that were strong on me, as soon as she put her hands on me, amplified like 50 times over. And I panicked, and I was like, stop, I can feel it again. Like, what is that? So then she really explained it in a way of, it's energy you're feeling, Kel. She did a little experiment with me when I was there, and I was like, right, okay. And that seemed to resonate with me, even though I thought these type of people were crazy.
Yeah.
Something that really kind of struck with me. So anyway, so then that kind of put me on a journey of this spiritual journey, and I was balls deep then in the spiritual community. I was sage waving, kaftan wearing, like all the spiritual, everything you could possibly be. I was one of them because I felt like I had to fit in that world, because I could feel this thing now.
Right.
Because no one understood me in my normal way. But these type of people then did kind of understand me, but I still wasn't fitting, So I was wearing all the clothes, and I really changed the way I was, and I was trying to fit into a community I didn't actually really belong in. So I started to, I become a Reiki healer. I became one of them crazy people. And
that's a bit of a mindset shift for you then, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And then I went on it was a lockdown actually, and I started to, I've been doing it for quite a few years before then, and about 2 years before then. And then when lockdown hit, I discovered distance Reiki, and I couldn't quite believe how that worked. I thought, how can this be a thing? So I launched a group on Facebook, and I called it Nourish the Soul, and it attracted loads of people. So once a week I would do this remote healing on people from all over the place for free, and the results people were getting I couldn't quite believe. So then I rented a place in lockdown again and started to do physical healing on people, and we're getting amazing results, like complete transformational healings, and I couldn't explain it. I just thought, oh yeah, it's Reiki this, and I'm doing these symbols in the air of that, and I'm doing this, the whole spiritual thing, not really tapping into, actually, Kel, this is coming from you. This is not coming from any symbol you've just drawn in the air. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I like I said, I didn't feel like I fit in the spiritual community as such. So I started to sidestep it a little bit, and I thought I need to go within a bit more here because there's something else. So I started to do lockdown kind of come and went, and I started to do healing with people in the forest. I was very drawn to nature. And I found when I was in the forest and even driving through tree tunnels, which was beautiful.
Yeah, they're lovely.
Isn't it amazing? I couldn't do it because, excuse me, the energy I was experiencing, which I knew now was energy and I was getting used to it, but was that intense, I would literally shake. The steering wheel would shake. I'd be like, just get me out of here, get me out of here. And it'd become a joke. They'd be like, oh, here's Mum with the shaky hands because of the trees. So everyone kind of took the mickey out of me, but it was a thing. I was like, I can't help this. So when I kind of stepped away from the spiritual community as such, I really went deep within nature and thought, this is the place I need to be. I don't need to be in a community centre singing Kumbaya. I need to be here. So I really delved deep into nature, and I was kind of like experiencing different sensations of sort, because I'm very energy sensitive, and now I'm feeling all these feelings now from whatever's in the air and stuff. So I went through kind of a process of finding which soil was more energetically powerful than another soil in different parts of the park and different beaches with sand, because I knew that the life force energy that our cells require is always in nature. So I made these jars with sand and soil, and there was like precious metals in them, and I started to unlock knowledge that I didn't have any like prior knowledge to at all. I completely bombed out of high school and very dyslexic. So I didn't know any of this kind of thing. Not at all. I was just a normal person. So when I started to really tap into nature and realise it's quantum nature, even though I didn't really have the language to describe it, I just knew how it was working. So I started to make these jars of kind of soil and sand, and I started to put like metals in them and crystals and stuff, and found that they would really amplify the life force energy within ourselves, and it would start to heal and different things. But there was different soils did different things, or some weren't as strong as others. Some beaches didn't have a life force energy at all, actually, and
Really?
others did, yeah. And it's a whole different podcast to find out the reason why beaches don't do it. It's a whole new thing. But so then I went to a Mind, Body, Spirit fair, and this lady was measuring biofields. And I was already on this nature grounding thing, and I knew this was, this is the thing. And she was using these copper diodes to find out the energy field of people. And I started to be a bit of an unorthodox scientist, I call myself, and my whole kitchen was full of soil and sand and bits and bobs, and I'd be like, hold this, test this, and they'd be like, oh my God, she's losing her mind.
Sounds like you were having a lot of fun as well.
I was having a lot of fun, but this was me stepping away from the spiritual community, how you meant to act, by really going with what was residing within me, and was really tapping me on the shoulder to say, you need to wake up now because there's something here. So I went to this Mind, Body, Spirit friend. She was doing this auric field testing, and she was doing this demonstration of when people don't have a mobile phone in their hand, their biofield is about 6 feet-ish. And a child's biofield, auric field, or whatever you want to call it, was through the roof. I mean, you can't measure it. It's amazing to see. And that's because of the life force energy that they have. They're young, they're vibrant, and it just resides within their field. So that I thought there's got to be a way now of being able to use your technology, because so as soon as I hold the mobile phone, it would dissipate the field completely to nothing. So seeing kids' field completely disappear from, you can't measure it, it's so big. And when it hit the age of 14-ish, it goes to the end of your fingers, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I've got a few theories, maybe puberty or something, I'm not sure. So I thought every child is on an iPad, and at that time there wasn't really such a wireless headphones. It was like 6 years ago, so they were kind of just coming in. It was more phones and iPads then. I thought if I could create something to put on that device that grounds our energy by using nature's elements, I wonder if that we could, ground the energy. So I did. I made a little it was a little laminate thing actually, and I put some ingredients in there, and I wrote some words, and I just put a little sticky thing on the back and measured the field of someone holding their mobile phone, and it went massive. It was huge. Oh. Did kinesiology tests, it did the same thing. And started to just give them to friends and family and things like that. And I developed it some more. So we're talking 6 years ago now, so it's developed now. And Joe talked about the biodefense shield last week, so I'm not going to talk about that as much. But going back to when I was in nature, there's a lady that come to me, and because I've been experimenting with all these different elements and crystals and soils from different places and pots everywhere, and I'd been taking people into the forest with their feet against trees, having these amazing healing sessions. She said, do you think you could help my dad? I said, I don't know, I can try. And she said, all right, so he come over to my house. And I just said, I'm not going to do it from the house today. I said, do you want to come with me into the forest? I mean, bless this guy, he was so trusting. He was like, yeah. So driving this guy I never met to the forest, he's like middle 70s. And he had a bad knee, bad hip, couldn't walk very well. Took him into the forest, took us a good half an hour to walk there. And I just said, just sit with your back against the tree. And because I was really listening to my intuition at this point, I just had this thought, Kel, you need to half bury this guy.
Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? So I didn't tell him because I didn't want him to have any preconceived idea of what I was doing, what he was going to expect. I just said, I'm just going to try something on you. And from what I've experienced so far and kind of the science behind it about the negative charge entering the body, I said, I think it's going to work. He said, well, my daughter says you're amazing. I'll do whatever you want. So there was me like digging this person-shaped hole and he was there chatting to me. I mean, I was digging a hole. It was about this deep. It took me a good like half an hour and did it in a shape of a human. I thought, oh my gosh. I said, can you just lie in there? And he went, yeah, no worries. Okay. So he lay in this mini grave and I started to put soil on him and I put my hands on him. Can you imagine this now?
Can you imagine turning around the corner and seeing it and going, what?
Yeah. And I put my hands on him and I could feel the energy was so strong, but it wasn't just mine in the forest. It was something else. Something was activating within him. And I hadn't just come with my magical powers. It wasn't that. It was the life force energy from the earth, then my life force energy activating his. And I knew it was regenerating the cells and things. So after about half an hour, I said, oh, you can get up now. And he got up and he was absolutely fine. There was like nothing wrong with him.
Wow.
Just nothing wrong with him.
Wow.
It was absolutely amazing, actually. And I was astounded. I thought, oh my gosh. So then the scientist brain comes back in when I got home. And by the way, he's absolutely fine. He lives in India, went back to India, and his daughter I spoke to a couple of years ago, she said, no, from that day, there's nothing been wrong with him.
And if you'd have known, and you'd have known what was going to happen, it probably wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. So I thought there has to be a way now of not burying people in the forest, right?
It's quite labour intensive.
It's quite labour intensive, quite kind of possibly illegal. Because I knew and I'd been experimenting with all these pots of soil and things, I thought if I could bring the earth element to people as a wearable, say, then I wonder if that would do the same thing. So I started to make pendants with the earth elements in, with a specific geometry, because that seemed to concentrate the energy. And it had to be layered in a specific way. We've done lots of testing for different ways for it to be layered, and it had to be a certain kind of sandwich way. And that made sense because of how I did it with the guy in the thing, with the energy sandwich. And I created this like really chunky, ugly looking pendant, to be perfectly honest. It wasn't very nice. And then it got a little bit better. But the amount of feedback that I was getting from them was incredible. There was people having kind of spontaneous healings by just wearing them. But long-term illnesses had completely gone. Even a guy's, I don't know if I can say the word on here, but the big C.
What you like.
His scan went from stage 4 lung cancer, and within 3 months of him wearing the pendant, it had gone. So that was how that began. So then I stumbled on the power of water, and Joe spoke about it in there, and you probably had other people talk about water on the podcast as well. But I'd found a way of putting a frequency into the water to make it more powerful. And the way that come to me was, I always thought that there was just something missing. I've done the nature thing and everything was amazing, but there was an element of it that was, there's something else that's coming that I'm missing and I don't know what it is. And I was in a meditation this one day and I had this urge to pick up a pen and I didn't know why. And I was just sitting at my desk at about 1 o'clock in the morning. And my hand started to write itself like these symbols and things. I was like, no, that is strange. So I did it again. Like a bit of a dog with a bone. Started again. And every night then, all the kids would go to bed, the house would be quiet. I'd be like, right now, let me do this crazy writing thing. And I didn't know do you know what automatic writing is?
I have heard of it, but
yeah, same here. I didn't know what it was, and I thought it was something from like back in the day, and they used to do it in Shakespeare time. I didn't know what it was. So someone said to me, "You're doing automatic writing." So when I did a Google search, I was like, "Oh yeah, that is what it is." But it's not writing; it's just doing all these mad symbols. So the it took about 4 weeks then, actually, of practicing every night. And it wasn't just practicing I was consciously practicing to draw anything. My hand was doing it itself, but I was asking questions in my head to be like, what is this thing? And then I got really frustrated. I was like, for God's sake, can you just tell me in words? All I had to do was ask the question.
Really?
So then it wrote Kelly, my name. Then something else that was just unlegible. And then a massive frequency would come, like ECG. And my hand was doing this, like a frequency, like by itself. I was like, okay, this is weird. And then in this really murderous handwriting, because it did look like it'd been written from a murderer when it started, it said frequency of love. And that's the first words that ever formed. Ooh. So I played around with it for a bit, and I really delved into, I wanted to know, because I've not connected to anything. Like I say, I've not, the whole of the spiritual movement with the angels and the guides and stuff like that just didn't resonate with me. I thought I'd been through all the illness that I'd been through, and essentially I saved myself in the end with my own cells, and everything resides within me. So I kind of took that standpoint, really. And this frequency would come through. I was like, but I don't understand what it means. And writing would then come. So I asked, who is this kind of speaking through me? It just said, it's you. So it was the higher version of me speaking to me on a level that I could understand. So I wanted to know, like, why did I get sick then? It come through, why I got sick. And then it was going into past lives of mine and all this. I mean, this took me hours to write because it was very murderous. Like I said, it could be a murderer hand letter, very scary looking. So it took me a long time to kind of get the message, and I'll do it on other people and find out past lives from other people, and it'd be very, very relevant. So for one of the first ones I did, and this was like 4 years ago, I said to my friend, I can do this thing. And she said, okay. So she said, can you find out why my son is so attached to me? He's like very scared for me even leaving the house. Her son was 20 at this time, so he wasn't a kid. And I tapped into them and found out that they were husband and wife in a past life, right? And he was in the war, and he was in a tank, and he burnt in the tank alive. But before that, my friend, who was his wife, died first, and he knew that she died first, and she got shot in the head, right? So then when it come out that she was like, oh my God. And she was like, I'm going to tell you in a minute, carry on doing what you're doing. And then he got burnt in the tank, and she just said to him, Joe, stand up and take your top off for Auntie Kel. So he took his top off, and he got what looked a birthmark that looked like a massive burn all across his back, all across his chest. And she just said, come here. So she looked at me and she went, look in my hair. Because it said she got shot in the head. She's got a birthmark here that's risen like a bullet wound. I mean, I've known her for like all my life.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't know that she's got a markings. Why would you talk about it? I couldn't believe it. And then there was other things I'd done on other friends. It was all very relevant. Thought, right, maybe this was the thing that was missing. So every time I did a reading for people, a frequency would come through, because I'd ask, what is the highest vibration of this person? Because this is who I want to connect to. And it would just come up with this frequency. I'd be like, right, that's just part of the reading. And it wasn't until I took a glass of water like this and I would just do my thing. I put it on there, and it just ended up to go on the piece of paper I was working on. Picked it up again, and my hand started to shake like this. I was like, what is that? Because I've been knowing energy now and stuff. I took a sip of the water, and the energy just amplified massively. And where the water was on that frequency. So then again, like a dog with a bone, scientist Cal gets working again, and my hand starts to draw all these symbols and shapes and things like that. And I found that then I had this inkling about putting some symbols and shapes and frequencies and stuff within the products themselves by writing on pieces of paper, physically putting it inside along with the organic material, sealing it with crystals like I was, but all I did was put the paper inside. Oh, no, my gosh, Deb, the energy off there was 10 times more than they ever were. So taking that knowledge now, kind of coming to the present day, because obviously that was 4 years ago now, we're talking 4 to, so it's come on a lot more now. So there's a different process that I mean, they've gone from really big and bulky to then a little bit more prettier to this. So this is...
That's very delicate.
Very delicate, because I wanted something that my kids would wear. They're not going to wear anything. I mean, they're teenage now, 16 and 18. They didn't want to wear anything that I ever made. They didn't even want one of the phone stickers on their phone because it's embarrassing, because, kids are like... I said, would you wear something if I could make it small? They went, yeah. Right. So
mission. That was your mission.
That was my mission. I needed to protect these kids and everybody, because not everybody, because I was going it from a perspective of the spiritual community, like all this big brass jewellery and stuff like that. And my sister wouldn't wear one, my mum wouldn't wear one. And I was like, there was me, Mum. I thought, well, I like it. I wasn't thinking about the masses of people. But I can't imagine not anyone really liking that. It's very delicate, you wouldn't even know. So what these actually have inside them is organic material. We've got the 24 karat gold, silver, copper, pure silver, not 925 silver, pure silver. And there's basalt, volcanic material. There's bark from a 4,000-year-old yew tree. There's frequencies of 28,000 springs across the world. There's a lot that goes inside them, and I physically hand make them. So they're not just like pretty pendants. They enhance the biofield, is what we need anyway. They keep us strong when we're using our devices because our devices weaken every muscle in our body by at least 30%. So you can test this by kinesiology. And they also amplify the life force energy within the cells.
Wonderful.
So I was sitting over there earlier on and my neck started to hurt because we did the exercise yesterday. And it started to hurt me a little bit. So all I did was I put this on the back of my neck like that. There's something about you have to physically place it on things because we're here in this 3D reality and with physical matter. And it's gone now, absolutely fine now. So I noted my knee was hurting, I just put it on my knee and it goes because it's got the little crystal in there and it's got the geometry on the back and the frequency with what we call now, myself and Jo, because we created this technology between us with her amazing science background. And we work with magnets and the frequency, and we've got this process, and we call it quantum frequency trace technology. So it's all combined with that send this massive amplification of life force.
How wonderful!
So, which everything in nature is, and we are nature at the end of the day. So, yeah, there we go.
People that don't go, wow, after hearing that story, there's something wrong. There is something seriously wrong. When you were talking about the minerals and the soil elements, I immediately thought of when I was training as a medic and I spent 4 months in an infectious diseases ward as part of my rotation.
Yeah.
And there were some ladies that come in there, often of African origin, that eat different soils.
Yeah. Yes.
And that thought just came into my head when you were talking about the requirements for minerals.
Absolutely. Myself and Jo have actually created a free membership on our website. And you can sign up for free, and it's a standard membership for free. And Jo's done this amazing free detox guide. But we've also done a level 1 course, and that's all about the quantum nature of our reality and water and Jo really goes heavy in the science, but then all the quantum nature of it is amazing. But our next course is all about nature and trees and soil. So at this moment in time, I'm creating the course of everything. I mean, this is just a bit of what I've discovered, and I'll tell you a little trick in a minute. And really going into the nitty-gritty of nature and its actual healing powers. It's not spoke about, that our ancestors knew, that African people know, that has been completely forgotten, accidentally on purpose, if you ask me, because it is healing. I mean, I've got to know loads of things by spending so much time in the forest, but did you know that if you put a leaf in your shoe, it will help reduce inflammation? And When you take that leaf out of the shoe, it will be completely black because your body then sucks up that life force energy and you can just do it again.
Wow.
Isn't it amazing?
So does that have some relevance to the fact of grounding?
Exactly, yeah. Because you're at that moment picking up that tree's frequency and it will reside in that leaf. I mean, if you've seen curling photography where they cut the leaf and the energy's still there. So you just put it in your shoe and it'll, throughout the day, it will go completely black. But then if you leave a leaf on the side, it'll just crisp up and go. But in the shoe, it'll go completely black. That's every leaf I've tried.
Wow.
And if you're going for a walk in nature and you get a ache or a pain or a stiff joint, just put that joint on a tree and your pain will go. It's not like it might go, it will go. So this is the power of nature. This is the power of our ancestors. And this is the power of unlocking our own blueprint by me stepping away from the community, me stepping away from all the dogma that we're meant to know, to then just be like, no, I want to sit in the forest and just be. And then go into that space, that void space, which actually, speaking to my friend and just kind of going back a little bit, she was saying, like meditation in Hinduism is like a really big thing. And I'm not saying I know anything about it at all, but I'm just going what she said. She said, I was talking about how I meditate and how quickly I can get to that space. And she just said, that's what whatever the high up people, sorry from ignorance with Hinduism, that's what they call being spiritual. It's when that spiritual mastery, and I'm not saying I'm a master by any means, but I can get to that focus point, that nothingness where I got when I was sick, where I didn't want to leave, where there's no kind of expectations, there's no attachments, there's no nothing. So within that space is where our blueprint derives. So with the readings that I do now with people, I get to that space to then bring through the person's actual why you're here. And it won't be, oh, you're here to be a teacher and you're here to be this and this. It will always be very nature-based. This is what you've done before. This is when you were closest to your blueprint. And I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of these now, and the amount of information that comes through because of me being in that quiet void space, because that's what, at that point, everyone says, oh, you're very gifted and you can do this and this. But my gift is that. My gift is to be able to get from here to there very quickly to bring this information through. That's it. And because then I'm unlocking my blueprint, it seems like I've got all these magical powers, but really I haven't. I can just get to there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then just bring this through. And this is what I've started to teach people. And a couple of years ago, before myself and Joe started Crystal Water Experience, I started to teach people. I thought, I want to teach people how to do automatic writing and bring all this stuff through. So there's a process of meditation that I do to get myself to that point, which I won't go into now, but it's like a process. And I taught that, and I thought then people start automatic writing. But that was kind of my human thing, saying, I'll be teaching people things that I can do. But really, I was getting them into that space to be able to bring through their own gifts.
Yeah.
So that there was so many gifts that people started to unlock. And not one person did automatic writing, by the way. All the people that I taught, it was always kind of like they could visually see more. They were connected to, and a lot of it was very nature-based, because if we're on this earth and we're connected to organic earth, of course, this is where we reside and where our gifts are. So when you were talking about the African people and the ancestors and things, that's absolutely spot on. We've just lost it along the way.
Yeah, we need to be able to remember all of that, don't we, and bring it all back.
Yeah, and we can do that. And that's what we're going to be doing in our next course after the level 2, when we've published that. It will be taking people on that process to be able to get to that point to then bring their stuff through. Because we're all magic, We just need to just unlock, that's all, because we've just been made to forget. And all this noise around us is just, clouding everything.
Yes.
You just need to just be still, be centred, and that's it, and you can do anything.
Oh, it's just so wonderful. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to hearing more about this course when it comes out, because
brilliant.
It sounds as though you're both together moving through your experiences and your science journeys.
That's it.
and bringing out the best of it to help others.
Absolutely. And that's why we work so well together as a team. People listen to the last one, they'll know that we're very different, but we are actually the same. We are very much the same. We are. We've got a really funny relationship as well, yeah. But it's a completely different, it's just a synergistic, absolutely. The science, the nature comes together, and Joe has an amazing way of explaining it, or I have a more layman's terms of explaining it, but it all works really well. Yeah. So, yeah.
Because we all need that, don't we? We need some things coming across, like you say, at a lay level.
That's it. Yeah.
But then many people really love the detail and want the depth.
Yeah.
That Joe will offer. And even if others don't feel they need it, I'm certain they'd find it of interest.
Absolutely.
And as an explanation, but others would be like, oh, yes, and that really resonated.
Absolutely. And actually, I'll just tell you how we met, because, again, that's just relevant for what you said. I found out a way to put frequency into water to help people's pain. So I would connect and bring down a frequency, because from now I can say I needed to connect to, say, this plant. I would connect to it, and then my hand would physically vibrate at the frequency of that, and it would bring down the frequency of it. I can lock it. That's another story, but I'm able to lock the frequency so it doesn't change. So I was putting, say, if you had toothache, for example, and you would say, oh, I'm really, really hurting me. I'd be like, just give me a minute. So I would connect to you. I'd be like, right, what frequency does Deb need to heal this frequency? So then it would come through. I would put the glass of water on it, kind of do something else to it, and then I would say, okay, that water's ready to drink now, or rub on the tooth. And 9 times out of 10, it would go completely. So I was doing this for people, and then I started to do it remotely by people sending me a video of a glass of water, and then I would put the frequency on my phone, and then the frequency would embed into the water. And I knew this was quantum science, and I didn't have the language to explain it, but it was the quantum science of it. I just knew it was going to work. There was just no two ways about it. I didn't believe it was going to work. I knew it was going to work. So this was going on for about 6 months, and I thought, I wonder if I did this on Zoom for people around the world, would it work? Well, I knew it would, but I wanted to do an experiment. So there's a Facebook group that I started up, and it's called Challenge Me to be Pain-Free. And Joe was one of the participants on there, and I would hold a glass of water up to my screen that would have the frequency of whatever the group of collective kind of pain relief or whatever. Everyone would measure their pain out of 10. And so it was like 10, 7, 6, whatever. They'd hold the glass of water up. They would, wherever they were in the world, to their computer screen. And I would get them to test it after. I said, so what? They put the water wherever it needed to be. And I said, where's the pain now? And it would go. So that was like amazing. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
I thought I need to bring this out to people. So, and I'm not saying it's going to cure everybody at all, but it's instead of having like 8 paracetamol a day, maybe you can just have 2. So Joe was on that Zoom, and she just, before I was like, bye everyone, thank you, bye, and I did all this for free, and she went, wait, I really need to speak to you. That was like amazing. I can explain how it works. And then that's how the crystal water experience kind of started, is because the science and the spirituality collided, and that's actually our tagline.
So the universe brought the pair of you together.
Absolutely. And we're actually one person removed from a friend of ours. And our friend,
of course you are.
Knew Joe.
Of course you are.
Yeah. So that's the the backstory really of how it all happened.
That's wonderful, and people can get hold of.
Yes, they can get hold of our website is crystalwaterexperience.com, and my name is Kelly Hindson, so it's just my name on Facebook. Instagram is Kelly Flow with Nature. And we have a Crystal Water Experience Facebook as well. So you'll get us there.
Wonderful. All in the show notes. Every single detail of that will go in there. So
and I really encourage people to sign up to our free membership to get the detox guide. And when you've got a free membership, you'll be sent newsletters as well. We do lots of stuff in the background, so we're all updated on where we are, where we're going. So, yeah. There we go.
Wonderful.
You're welcome.
Healing the world.
Healing the
in
world,
a
that's
fabulous way.
Yeah, that's it. Just helping people. Everyone can do this. So everyone can do it. Just dumb down the noise, quieten everything down.
Yeah.
Get to that space, and it just unlocks. It's not just me talking. I've got hundreds of people that will say the same thing because they're on that journey as well.
And has the potential to free so many people from a huge pill burden for life.
Absolutely.
That brings its own side effects and problems.
There you go, exactly.
And if your healing journey is anything to go by, the speed that you healed, then there's a massive amount of power in there.
Absolutely. Really is. Thank you for having us, Debs. It's been amazing to be here.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel enlightened and delighted to be able to help share your story.
Thank you so much.